Okay, so welcome to tonight's Tanya class. We are tonight studying chapter 28. In Hebrew it's called Perik Chaf Ches. And we are continuing what the Alter started 2 weeks ago about the idea that a person has to always be happy. Happiness is key. Happiness is key because without happiness you can't move forward. So a person has to always be in a state of happiness. Ivdu Hashem b'simcha, we have to serve God with joy. This week's Torah portion, actually, that we're learning, that we're studying during the week, speaks about that all the terrible things that happen to us happens for one reason, because we were lacking joy, with all the commentaries of it. But you see clearly that joy is very, very important. So in this week, chapter Chav Ches, the Alter was going to teach us a very, very important lesson, and that is how to deal with obstacles of joy. In other words, like this: we all know you have to be happy, and happiness is key. And we all want to be happy, but there are times that there's an attack on our simcha, on our joy. So the Alter is teaching you what the attacks are and how to deal with it. So this way, when you're in a great mood and life is going wonderful, and all of a sudden you get an attack, guess what? I already learned in Tanya class that how it comes, and therefore I know exactly how to knock it out the minute it comes. In other words, knowing your enemy. Knowing the enemy that's out there to attack the joy. So the Alter starts like this, and he says as follows. Last week we spoke about the struggle that you might have, the challenges you might have just going through your business throughout the day. Today the Alter is going to pick an interesting struggle, and that's as follows. You're going to synagogue, and you're going to pray. And you're praying with the proper kavanah. Or you're going to study Torah, and you're sitting and you're studying Torah, you're really like into it, etc. And all of a sudden, while you're studying Torah, and while you're praying, you'll have these like bad thoughts, inappropriate thoughts. What do you do? Now, what do you do? What's the question? Because why are you studying Torah? Because you want to connect to God. Why are you praying? Because you want to connect to God. So now you have a negative thought, which is obviously affecting you. A negative thought, an inappropriate thought. What happens the minute you have that thought? You say, oh my gosh, let me go ahead and deal with the thought. Because since the whole purpose of my studying is to get close to God, and the whole purpose of praying is to get close to God, so if I have these negative thoughts, what do I want to do? I want to deal with it and get rid of it. So the Alter says, hold on, how are you planning on getting rid of it? And the Alter says, I'm going to give you a simple solution. You know how you get rid of it? Guess what? Ignore it. Now, obviously, if you ignore it, guess what? It's gone. Obviously, it's not gone totally, but it's gone from your thought. Again, where is the battlefield? The battlefield is in your thoughts. So right now, you're supposed to be praying or studying Torah. What does that mean when you pray and study? Think about it. When you're praying, where is the active prayer battlefield taking place? Where is the ball field of prayer? In your thoughts. You're reading the prayers. You're having kavanah, means you're concentrating on it. Where are you concentrating? In your foot? In your hand? No, where in your thoughts? So your thoughts is where you're thinking about what you're praying. In your thoughts is what you're thinking about what you're studying Torah right now. Where are the negative thoughts coming into? Straight onto the battlefield, on the ball field of your thoughts. So the Alter says, guess what? You're studying. You're praying. You need a clean battlefield. You need a clean playing field. The thoughts is dirt. Ignore it. Get back and stay focused on what you're doing. Straight up. Easy solution. Right? So the Alter plays the devil advocate. But one might say, hold on a second. But since this negative thought came on my battlefield, on my playing field, I want to elevate it. And we know that according to Kabbalah and Zohar, there are ways to elevate negative thoughts. So the Alter says, hold on a second. When it speaks about elevating thoughts, which there is room for it, who is it speaking about? It's speaking about righteous people that have thoughts not of their own, of other people. And that you can elevate. A, because you're a tzaddik, and B, it's not your thought. But if you're the one that's having these thoughts, obviously you're not in a position to elevate them. Because if you were, you wouldn't have had them to begin with. So don't try to elevate something that you're not going to have the power to elevate. Why not? So here it goes. Where do our thoughts come from? They can come from one of two places. Our mind or our heart. What creates the thoughts? Either our mind or our heart. So these thoughts, where do they come from? Your mind or your heart? Anybody?
Your mind.
From your mind. So you're sitting, let's play this out. You're sitting and studying Torah. Whatever you're studying about, whether it's the weekly Torah portion or a piece of Mishnah or Talmud, or you're praying and you're concentrating on the prayer, so your mind brought in a negative thought? No. Why would your mind do that? If I'm right now thinking about this week's Torah portion, why would my mind stick in a negative thought? Or if I'm right now praying and meditating on God and the greatness, why would my mind stick in a negative thought? It wouldn't.
It's your feelings.
So where's it coming from? If it can be your mind, where's it coming from?
Feeling.
From your heart. From your heart. Now, so you're praying, you're studying, and your thoughts about obviously what you're praying and studying about. Now your heart, we know, what's the heart? It's feelings. The animal soul, emotions. That's the source of those negative thoughts. Now, if your heart spits out thoughts, spits out ideas into your mind and feelings, do you think? Now again, so your heart, it's coming from your heart. Your heart created that bad thought or that inappropriate thought. Now, you think you're fixing your heart? You think you're transforming your heart? You think you're getting rid of your animal soul in this moment right now while you're studying? No. No. You're not a tzaddik that doesn't have an animal soul, that doesn't have a source where negative thoughts are coming from. You're a regular person. And we discussed last week, right? You have basically, just in a certain way, just like the Russia, you have these pop-ups that constantly come out. So the Bainani has the power to overcome it, where you can knock it down. But, the Russian theory also has, but he doesn't. But the point is that if it's coming from your heart, so you think all of a sudden now you're going to change your heart while you're studying Torah and while you're praying? No. So therefore you don't have an option to try to elevate it. The only option you have, the Alter Rebbe says, is one option. Delete. Right? What do I mean delete? Not to actively, we're going to delete you now. No, ignore it. Just ignore it. Wonderful. So we resolve the issue, right? You have these terrible thoughts. What does the Alter Rebbe say? Ignore it. But guess what? Do you think the Yetzer Hara is going away? No. He's going to come now from another door. What is he going to come from another door? What is he going to come and tell you? He's going to say to you like this. Hi, welcome, come. Grab a seat, have a seat. There's chairs, I think, over there. He's going to come and he's going to say to you, guess what? You're sitting and you're praying, or you're sitting and you're studying Torah, and you're having these thoughts. You're a loser. You're a loser. You're a hypocrite. Here you're sitting and studying Torah, you're praying, you love God, right? And you're connecting with God, and you're having these negative thoughts. You're a loser. What's the goal of the Yetzer Hara right now? Huh? Discourage you, distract you, depress you, get you unhappy, to get you sad. So even though I'm pushing delete, guess what? He's going to say, pushing delete, that's okay, but you're a loser. Why do you even have these thoughts? He's trying to somehow knock you down. What a good argument. So the Alter Rebbe says, guess what? On the contrary. Turn to him and you can tell the Yetzer Hara, I am going to be double happy now. You think you're going to try to depress me, you're going to try to get me distracted, you're going to try to get me to focus on this negative stuff, you're going to try to make me depressed and be sad. No. I'm going to be double happy. Now, not that I'm going to be double happy because I'm just saying I'm going to be double happy. No, because the reality is there is room for me to be double happy now. Why? Because, think about it. If I were, or whoever this person is, was one human being with one soul, whether godly or animalistic. I had one track, and I'm supposed to be going one way here, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about going the other way. You can say, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with this guy. He was set in a one-way street. Why is he trying to go the other way? He's supposed to pray. He's supposed to study. Why are you thinking these negative thoughts? And you would be right. Absolutely right. But you're forgetting something. What's the playing field? Is it one me on the playing field? No. For every human being, there's two parts. There's the godly soul and there's the animal soul. Godly soul wants to go this way. The animal soul wants to go this way. And if they're both the same strength, you're not going anywhere. But hopefully one is stronger than the other. So you're starting to pray. You're starting to study Torah. That means what? Who's picking up speed? The godly soul. Now, what happens when the godly soul picks up speed? What do you think happens to the animal soul? He thinks now more creative and more advanced. How can I pick up speed the other way? Because I'm losing traction. The godly soul is getting involved in this prayer session, in this meditative session, in this Torah study session. Oh my gosh, I got to think of ways to distract him. So because I'm being successful, that's why I'm being distracted. So in other words, you're telling me I should be sad because I have these thoughts? No. On the contrary, the reason why I'm getting these thoughts are because you're now starting to think overtime because you see me being successful. So therefore, there's no room to be sad. On the contrary, we got to be double happy. Why? Because we're succeeding in life. How do we know we're succeeding? Because we have competition. The greater the competition, the greater the success. So in other words, I'm not sad because I have these terrible thoughts. If I was a one-man show, yeah, oh my gosh, something wrong with the equipment here. But there's nothing wrong. It's a sign that I'm not only doing good, I'm doing great. It's a sign that my prayers are really, really bothering you. It's a sign that my success of Torah study is bothering you. And that's why you're trying to go ahead and give me these terrible thoughts. And therefore, not only am I going to push delete, but I'm going to say, guess what? We are doing fantastic because we have opposition here. And guess what? We're going to keep on praying. We're going to keep on studying. Let's keep the engines rolling, spiritual engines rolling. What happens now? This is where the battle starts. But the success of the battle is that what? That we have now more energy to move forward and to be even double as happy and to study more and to pray more. Because it's working. I'm doing great. And the only thing I can do if a negative thought comes up, just ignore it. Why? Because if I start engaging, what's going to happen? I'm going to lose traction. In other words, like this. Let's say you're in synagogue and you're praying, or you're studying Torah, and somebody walks in peacefully and says, listen, I'm lost. I'm lost. Do me a favor. I know you're praying. I know you're studying. Give me some directions. So what's the Jewish law? Hey, guy's lost. Help the guy. Absolutely. Why should you help him? Because the guy needs help. Or, for example, if a king walks in, so there's Jewish law that you're supposed to stop and greet him appropriately. That's the Jewish law. Why? Because he's coming in, and it's only respectful to respect the king. That's in the first case where a guy is legitimately lost, or a king walks in. An appropriate place is it's appropriate to stop. But what happens if somebody walks in? He's not lost. He's not a king. He has one goal in mind. You know what's his goal in mind?
Distract your position.
Exactly. How do you know that?
I don't know.
Very good.
Just guessed it.
His goal is one thing. I am here to irritate this guy and distract him because I don't like the fact that he has a relationship with God. And I don't. Jealousy, whatever the source is. So the guy walks in and starts distracting you. Now, what's his goal? To distract you. So now, the Alter Rebbe says very simple. This is strategical and tactical. If you say to the guy, excuse me, let me finish praying. Let me finish my Torah study. Guess what? Did he just now distract you? Mm-hmm. Yes. Did you buy into it? Mm-hmm. Yes. Guess what? The minute you responded to him, you know what he's going to say now? He's going to keep the fire going. And you're going to say, but come on, let me finish. And you're going to end up in a battle. Meanwhile, you'll end up battling for who knows how long. Bottom line, does he accomplish his goal? Yes. He diverted you, distracted you, and you're off in no man's land.
Should have ignored him.
So therefore the Alter Rebbe says, what's the only advice for the guy that's coming with his sole intention to distract you is what?
Ignore him.
The only thing you can do is ignore the guy. So let's say you continue praying, and again, you're not a mean person. Had he come for, he wanted directions, he was lost, you would stop. I mean, you're a compassionate individual. Had he been a king or whatever it may be that where it's appropriate to say, you would stop. Yeah. But a guy, it's his sole purpose to distract you, so therefore the only thing you can do is actually ignore him. As you ignore him, guess what happens? He starts bothering you. And you don't respond. You know what happens? He'll bother you maybe once more, twice more. You know what happens after that? He walks away.
Gives up.
It's very simple. You ever bang your head in the wall? No. Some people no, some people yes. What happens after a while? The wall doesn't respond. You know what happens? You stop banging your head in the wall. Exactly. So if somebody's out to distract you, you ignore it. Alter Rebbe says the same thing. When you're praying right now, or you're studying Torah right now, so if someone legitimately walks in and says, hey guys, I need help. My car broke down, whatever it may be, and it's legitimately okay to say, you stop. The guy needs help. He's not here to distract anybody. But what happens if he's walking in to disturb you from your Torah study or your prayer? Whatever you're going to tell him, guess what? You already fell in the trap. And as you engage, you're deeper into the trap. What's the answer? Ignore it. You're not being mean. He's out to disturb you, and you want to stay focused in your concentration. Now, obviously, if somebody comes in for real help and you ignore the guy, that's wrong. So you can't use this for your advantage, God forbid, not to help somebody. When someone really needs help, you help the person. But what someone's goal is to distract you, you got to ignore it. And based on this, the Alter is very, very simple. If you're praying, you're studying, ignore it. What's the biggest proof that he's coming to distract you? Maybe he's not coming to distract you. Maybe he's really coming to, you have these negative thoughts, and he's telling you, look at you. You have all these negative thoughts. What's with you? So the Alter says a very, very simple answer, and it's a brilliant answer. He says like this. How many hours a day do you pray and study? Just whatever the percentage is, right? How come it's interesting, the only time he bothers you is while you're praying and studying? When you're out playing ball, he doesn't bother you. The Yetzer Hara. When you're shopping, he doesn't bother you. When you're driving, he doesn't bother you. When you're bored, and that'll be like a perfect time to have an engagement with the Yetzer Hara, he doesn't bother you. The only time he's bothering you is studying Torah and praying. What does that mean? Very simple. He's trying to distract you and doesn't want you to study Torah. He doesn't want you to pray. Therefore, it's a proof that he's coming to distract you. Since he's only coming to distract you, guess what?
Don't let him.
Don't let him. Not now. Some other time. Now, this is so far a practical tip. Very practical and very real. He's coming to distract you, ignore it. And it works. But the Alter Rebbe says, okay, great. What happens if it doesn't work? You're getting these ideas, you're trying to pray, you're trying to study, you're trying to concentrate on doing a mitzvah, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden you have these negative thoughts that come in your mind. Negative thoughts, inappropriate thoughts, illustrious thoughts, and you try to ignore it, you keep on trying to ignore it, you're ignoring, and it's just not working. And it keeps on getting more and more intense, and getting more and more aggressive. And as much as you're standing ground, you're still focusing on your Torah study and your prayer and your mitzvot, it just keeps on getting aggressive, and just doesn't stop. It's like a guy banging his head in his wall, right? And he doesn't stop. What do? So the Alter says, I'm going to give you one more piece of advice, and this works. I mean, the first one also works. Sometimes it doesn't, so you need to pull in bigger troops. Very simple. What do? He says very simple. At the end of the day is, who are we? Who are you? You're a child of God. And we all know God has the biggest power. He's infinite. So all you need to do is stop, turn to God, and beseech God from a place of Rahmanut. Rahmanut is a place of mercy from within yourself, and turn to God, say, God, please have Rahmanut on me, like Kerachim of Albanim, like the Rahmanut, the compassion and the mercy that a parent has for a child. There's no limits there. A parent's natural compassion and mercy for a child, there's no limits. and he'll do anything to protect the child. That's the natural tendency from a parent for a child, to do anything for the child. A parent doesn't do it, it's questionable. You know, the famous story of King Solomon, when they were trying to figure out whose baby it was, and he said, okay, we'll cut the baby in half. And the one that says, fine, cut the baby in half. He knew it wasn't the mother. Versus the one said, no, absolutely, let her have it. Why? Because the natural tendency of a parent is to have compassion. So if you turn to God with compassion, God, I'm trying to pray, I'm trying to study, the Yitzchok is distracting me, I'm trying to ignore it, I'm not engaging, because if I was engaging, I would be a fool too, because Dr. uses that language. If you engage, now you're a fool engaging with a fool. So you're becoming a fool. I'm not engaging, I'm ignoring it, but I just can't anymore. And it's already getting to me, and I'm going to have to engage, or I don't want to engage. I'm begging you, God, to take over this fight. Take over this fight for me. And the Alter says, almost like a promise. Turn to God, hand it over to God, and guess what? God will take over this battle for you, and He'll get rid of the Yetzer Hara. So in other words, this chapter of Tanya is such a powerful chapter in Tanya, because a lot of times, you know, we get serious and we want to pray and we want to study and we want to be happy, right? And we sit down to study, and just when you're sitting down to study, right? What happens? The phone rings. Or someone rings the bell, right? Or you want to pray and someone calls you. All of a sudden, all the important things, the emergencies happen right then and there. So obviously the answer is very simple. If it's important and if it's appropriate to stop, you stop. They're not coming to, but if it's really the Yetzer Hara somehow coming dressed up as many different ways, you know, the Yetzer Hara can be dressed up in a lot of holy garb too, the option is very simple: ignore it. Ignore it. Don't try to elevate it. And don't feel bad, because on the contrary, you should feel great, because you are now going to experience tremendous inspiration by your Torah study and by your prayer, and that's why He's coming to distract you. Know that you have something great coming for you, which actually it's a good sign. It's a sign you're doing great and you have great blessings coming towards you. If, after all said and done, you still can't handle it and it's distracting you, and obviously you're going to resist engaging in negativity, turn to God, and God, with His tremendous mercy, will help you and get rid of the Yetzer Hara once and for all, and you'll be able to cleave to God by studying Torah, prayer, and doing mitzvot.